José María Enríquez Negreira, a name that once symbolized fairness in Spanish football. He was supposed to keep La Liga clean. Instead, he buried it in shadow and was secretly accepting millions from one of its biggest clubs. What if I told you this wasn't just a case of bribery? It rewrote entire seasons, a network so deeply rooted that shattered the legacy of a football giant. This is the 7 million euros web of lies José Negreira spun behind the scenes, and it might just be the biggest scandal Spanish football has ever seen. Negreira's official role: referee evaluator, rule enforcer, protector of the game, former referee, and former vice president of the technical committee, literally who controlled the referees. But between 2001 and 2018, he received over 7.3 million euros in secret payments from FC Barcelona, funneled through Dasnil 95SL. Publicly, the excuse was vague: consulting services, technical reports, referee insights. That's what the club wants you to believe. Privately, no contracts, no invoices, nothing but wires and whispers. 7.3 million euros transferred with zero paperwork or deliverables. Just money and silence. Why? What did Barcelona really buy with all that money? And more importantly, what were they so desperate to hide? Here's what nobody saw coming. This scandal wasn't uncovered by a journalist. It wasn't a rival club. It wasn't Real Madrid TV or even a disgruntled insider. It was a random tax audit, a routine check by Spanish authorities. They stumbled across a small company, Dasnil 95SL, a name nobody outside the football elite had ever heard of. One question blew the lid open. Why is FC Barcelona paying a referee committee official? That question cracked the door open. Negreira was asked to explain the payments. What were they for? Where were the contracts? The reports? The results? All he had were vague references to neutrality. No invoices, no signed agreements, just silence and memory. And suddenly the bombshell came. When pressed, Negreira couldn't prove what services he provided. And worse, he admitted it. He was paid to ensure neutral refereeing or standard practices, but claimed he never influenced outcomes. Wait, what? Imagine being the auditor, running a standard tax review, and then seeing FC Barcelona wired money to a referee committee official. That's when everything changed. Authorities asked, "Where are the reports?" His answer? A shrug, a stammer, just neutrality. So again, what services were actually being rendered? Negreira didn't officiate games himself, but he controlled who did. And that's where the real power lived. Every week, match assignments for referees were passed down from the technical committee, the same committee Negreira co-led. And those assignments weren't random. Negreira allegedly influenced promotions, who rose to La Liga and who got stuck in the second division, appointments for high-stakes games, El Clásicos, title deciders, or relegation battles, disciplinary actions, which referees got punished, including against referees who hurt Barca's chances. So this wasn't just a soft influence, this was a pipeline of pressure. If you were a referee, you knew one thing: your future could depend on keeping the right people happy. Step out of line? Make a controversial call against Barca? You could suddenly find yourself benched or demoted. And that changes everything. What did this control mean for Barca's success? How many league titles were tilted not by Messi or Guardiola, but by men in black shirts, assigned by a man no one saw coming? Before the payments began, Barcelona were good, not great. From 1997 to 2001, they won just 2 league titles in 5 seasons. Solid performance, but not dominance. Then came the shift. In 2001, the Negreira payments began, quietly in the background, as Joan Gaspart handed over to Laporta and Rosell, then Bartomeu. From that moment until 2018, the club didn't just compete, they owned La Liga. In that 17-year stretch, Barca racked up 10 league titles: 2004, 2005, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2013, 2015, 2016, 2018. That's a title every 1.7 years, an era of dominance. After 2018, when Negreira was no longer on the referee committee, they won only one league title, 2022, and now the 2025. But here's what gets strange. Let's isolate the final 3 seasons before the payments stopped. Penalties awarded to Barca, 33. Penalties given against them, just 3. That includes 2 full seasons, 78 consecutive matches without a single penalty conceded. A statistical outlier so extreme it should be impossible, unless someone tilted the scales. Now contrast that with the 3 seasons after Negreira left. Barca were awarded 23 penalties, 14 went against them. Red cards? 2015 to 2018, 4 Barca players sent off, 23 opponents sent off. After 2018, 10 red cards for Barca, 15 for rivals. So what changed? The players didn't, the system did. Negreira didn't need to rig the games. He just needed to decide who'd blow the whistle. And with that, Barca dominated. This wasn't dominance, it was precision. Every foul avoided, every card dodged, every whistle silent. And the man behind it all? He never needed a suitcase of cash on the pitch. He had something far more powerful: the right referee in the right game. Is this all just a coincidence or a statistical fingerprint of influence? Barca said the payments were for referee reports, but players and staff from that era say they never even saw these reports. So when the money stopped, Negreira threatened them. He claimed to hold damaging secrets and he would expose all the irregularities he knew about. Wait, irregularities? And to this day, no one knows exactly what those secrets were. But Barcelona's reaction said everything. No denials, no lawsuits, just silence. A silence that sounded a lot like fear. Secrets, he claimed, could destroy the club. But was that a warning or a threat? A man paid for consulting was now blackmailing the club. What secrets was he referring to? Why was the club so afraid? And when investigators followed the money, things got even darker. They were delivered in cash envelopes to obscure companies. Some were tied to relatives. Others were registered to front names. There were no contracts, no receipts, no deliverables, just vanishing paper trails. A financial setup so messy it looked less like consulting and more like organized crime. If this wasn't about consulting, then what exactly were they paying for, and how many people were involved? Over 1.4 million euros per year in payouts, but no report, no emails, no oversight. There were 0 records of consulting work, just massive annual payments, vanishing into thin air. And yet no one asked questions. It was approved, year after year. Then the twist. Negreira's son was being coached for 25,600 euros, and the payment didn't come from Barcelona. It came from active referees who are still officiating today. Javier Alberola Rojas, Santiago Yame Latre, David Medier Jimenez, Iñaki Vicandi Garrido, Oliver de la Fuente Ramos. Why would referees pay for the son of a corrupt official? What did they expect in return? We may never know what Negreira had on them, but cash envelopes, shell companies, and referee payouts, he clearly wasn't bluffing. Is this a one-off favor or a quiet form of loyalty buying? Negreira wasn't alone. Entire referee groups were compromised. referees who met with committee heads before matches: Jesus Gil Manzano, Alejandro Hernandez, Jose Maria Sanchez Martinez, Cesar Sotogrado. Some have denied it. Others have stayed silent. Sanchez, Arminio, and Negrera led the committee when Medina Cantalejo rose to La Liga with the worst corruption rate. Now he heads Spanish referees. It wasn't one man, it was a chain. A silent handshake passed from one generation of referees to the next, all under committee protection. How many of today's VAR decisions are rooted in this system? UEFA and Spanish courts launched investigations. But there's a problem. Spanish law only allows a statute of limitations of 5 years for many financial crimes. That means some of the most suspicious years might be untouchable by law, unless they find evidence of an ongoing criminal organization, a far more serious charge. Barca may avoid full punishment. If justice can't be served legally, can it be exposed publicly? But here's the part that most people miss. This isn't just about Spain, because if it happened in La Liga, could it have happened elsewhere? Could top clubs in Italy, France, England, or even the Champions League have found their own Negrera? Someone willing to quietly shift the balance, one referee appointment at a time. One insider once said, "In football, perception is everything. If fans believe a match is fair, it is." But what happens when that illusion shatters? Let's follow the ripple. Between 2008 and 2015, UEFA launched financial fair play. Guess who often skirted the rules? Clubs backed by billions, but also protected by silence. Clubs who rarely faced controversial red cards or got key calls in high-stakes fixtures. Patterns too consistent to ignore. Could they have had their own Negrera in place? Someone in the shadows, not taking bribes, but enforcing influence? That's the question La Liga's scandal forces every league to ask. Not just what happened in Spain, but how many matches were truly fair. And it gets darker. You see, when a system like this exists, it doesn't just corrupt the game, it rewrites history. Every match result, every red card, every league title becomes suspect. Legends built on titles won under shadow. Managers hired and fired based on altered outcomes. Even transfer fees inflated because a club won more than it should have. Negrera didn't just tilt games, he tilted careers. He warped reality. And the most terrifying part? It all happened without a single match-fixing conviction. No one ever got caught changing a final score. Because that's not how this system worked. It didn't need to. If you control who holds the whistle, you don't need to change the call. You just make sure the right person is in the right place at the right time. And maybe that's why, to this day, many officials stay silent. Because they weren't all guilty, but many benefited. And in a world of shadows, silence often pays more than truth. Investigators have long believed Negrera wasn't acting alone. And as this case deepens, more names keep surfacing. Meetings held before key fixtures, travel records that match referee assignments, and friendly appointments, where the same official handles a club's title-deciding game 3 years in a row. Coincidence or coordination? And here's another layer no one talks about: VAR. When the system came in, many believed it would end manipulation. But what if the people behind VAR were from the same compromised structure? The man who leads VAR in Spain today was part of the Negrera Committee. That's not speculation, that's a fact. And under him, controversial calls haven't stopped. They've just gone digital. So Let's ask again. Did VAR fix football? Or did it just give corruption a new screen to hide behind? It's this kind of layered rot that terrifies fans, because it's not just about one man anymore. It's a network, institutional, generational, and likely global. And if we don't uncover all of it now, we may never get another chance. Negreira's case may end in court, but the damage it did, still unfolding. And for every honest referee, every fair coach, every clean player, this scandal casts a shadow they never asked for, a shadow that now belongs in all of football. Today, Negreira lives a shadow of his former life. After the scandal broke, he suffered health problems and was placed under medical care for dementia. Key witnesses close to him? Some refused to testify. Others have disappeared from public view entirely. It's almost like someone doesn't want this story fully told. Negreira may be gone, but what if the true puppet master is still pulling the strings? With the same men behind the screen, VAR didn't fix the game, it just gave corruption a new angle. Quiet, clinical, invisible. Because maybe the scariest truth isn't that Negreira acted alone, but that he didn't have to. The system was already built to protect him. This scandal shook La Liga. But what if the corruption goes even higher, beyond clubs, beyond referees, into the hands of global power brokers? In our next investigation, we reveal the man who runs PSG, controls billions in football, and holds FIFA in his pocket. Nasser Al-Khelaifi, the €2 billion puppet master. You won't believe how deep this game goes.